Welcome back. Thank you for joining. Today we are discussing the law of scale. The law of scale articulates a very fundamental principle. It states that universal principles and patterns recur across all different levels of magnitude, from the microscopic to the macrocosmic. This happens in a fractal-like manner where small structures often mirror larger ones. Keep in mind that while these forms do repeat, these patterns, these principles, the application of these forms, patterns, principles does not remain identical. What does function effectively at one scale can become ineffective, inefficient, and or even destructive when applied unaltered at another. In nature, we see this vividly illustrated. Tree branches resemble river deltas. Neural networks echo cosmic webs. And atomic structures actually parallel galactic formations. These self-similar patterns represent and demonstrate repetition. Yet, we have all of the governing dynamics that shift with scale. This requires adaptation rather than direct replication. Spiritually and philosophically, y'all, the law of scale actually underscores the need for what? Discernment. Personal growth can contribute to collective growth and evolution. However, we only see this when the transitions, keyword transitions, between levels of consciousness and organizations and complexities are actually consciously understood and navigated. Okay? Just because one person has inner development doesn't mean everyone on their exterior does, and vice versa. So how do we bridge those gaps? It's usually we've seen in history with activism and going out and helping to bridge these gaps from a very conscious collective space, seeing and understanding these gaps when we go from one tier to the next. The thing is, y'all, when we misapply our own interpersonal ethics to large-scale systems, this will often lead us to failure. Confusing family-like compassion with national governance and/or individual survival instincts with civilization policy designs. Now, a very common manifestation of this violation of the law of scale appears in our political ideologies, our partisans, Democrat and Republicans. We have progressive approaches, aka democratic policies, that sometimes err by extending interpersonal virtues, such as empathy and communal care, however, directly to complex societal systems without sufficient adaptation. When this is scaled unchecked, compassion does risk fostering dependency. This also risks bureaucratic inefficiency and systemic overload. So some conservative approaches, aka our Republican Party, sometimes err by extending individual level competition with scarcity mindsets and market logic to entire societies. Now, while this may and can amplify inequality, concentration power upward, it will also undermine long-term stability and coercion. Both of our partisans are lacking son, and they both represent large-scale and microcosmic scale confusion. What ends up happening is they are applying context-specific rules universally without, emphasis on without, discerning is the most important word here, the necessary transformations at each level. Right? You don't just hop and skip. You don't just jump to the next level, individually or collectively. There's a transitional phase and period. We actually see this all the time within the stars and astrology, where the planets move at points where we can actually fix our behaviors and or ideologies or issues or whatever where we're stagnant, the planets energetically help us to transition, just as they transition around in our cosmic sphere. Now, in contrast to our partisans, Democratic Republicans, we have SAN, Symbiotic Abundance Network, which actually aligns with the law of scale through fractal scalability, y'all. SAN emphasizes decentralized, self-similar structures where our symbiotic coherent relationships at the local or individual level are actually rooted in mutual benefit, to include zero-point energy coherence and organic abundance. This is all replicated upward naturally without centralized imposition. This very adaptive expanse actually preserves integrity across all scales. It enablizes decentralized yet interconnected systems that foster planetary abundance while avoiding the pitfalls of top-down universalization. Ultimately, guys, the lesson here and the wisdom lies in recognizing where the principles apply at which scale. Scale is indifferent to good intentions. It responds only to precise fit. And therefore, true alignment actually demands discernment in bridging the micro and the macro, ensuring that what thrives locally evolves coherently into what sustains us globally, Mother Gaia. And with that, folks, I'll leave you with, you don't vote on scale.